Well, there are women also who just go in, I mean, maybe some of you went through menopause and no symptoms at all. And it's kind of like, what's the big deal? What's the big deal? I mean, there are women who do that.
It's the after is the problem for me.
The after, okay. Well, I break it down kind of in 3 ways. If you go through menopause and you have lots of hot flashes and night sweats, usually you also have cognitive dysfunction, so that you can't think as clearly as you used to. You're not as smart as you used to be. You are not emotionally stable the way you used to be. You are basically just not yourself. You are falling apart, okay? Those women need estrogen. That is your brain crying for estrogen. And you don't take estrogen without progesterone because it's going to give you breast cancer and all kinds of other problems, okay? Then there are women, and typically, you can't say this absolutely, typically they will be a little bit heavier, they'll be a bit more grounded, okay? They may have more truncal obesity, and always have, you know, nice, stocky, strong women. A lot of them will, what happens is as your estrogen goes down, if you go through a natural menopause, your estrogen will go down gradually, and as your ovaries shut off, your adrenal glands back here that live on top of your kidneys will rev up and produce more steroids, and then those steroids will go out into your fat, so you have to have fat, go out into your fat and produce estrogens. Okay, not the exact same ones you had before. It's called estrone, it's not estradiol, but that's, you get estrogen, okay? And those women, some of those may need some black cohosh or, you know, some, you know, kudzu or red clover, just a little bit of help, okay? And then there are women who, their ovaries shut down gradually, their adrenal glands kick up, no problem at all. I've got lots of reserve. I'm not burning the candle at both ends. I'm not tired at all. I can rev up and help you out and produce more steroids. And those women sail through, and those are the ones who say, what's the big deal? Just chill. And the other women say, I can't. Okay. So it's not that all women need hormone replacement therapy at all. It's that you have to be open to, you know, you take your ticket, you go for your ride. And then if you do need symptoms, you take the right hormones. And I'm one of those that believes very strongly that if you don't have, whether or not you take estrogen, I think you need progesterone because we are awash in environmental estrogens. And, but I find that, I mean, progesterone is so incredibly safe. Now, what happens if, what are the ways you can get into problems with progesterone? Okay, so what are the side effects if you get too much progesterone? Let's say you come to me and I tell you to take XYZ and, you know, you don't get enough benefit from that and you decide, I'll just double it. I mean, my patients do that. Or I miss the mark and I overdose you. Most younger women will need about 400 milligrams of progesterone for 2 weeks out of the month. Older women who have gone through menopause, it will be no more than 200 milligrams. So we're not taking you back to where you were when you were 25. Okay, that's not what you're trying to do. For older women, we're just trying to age gracefully. Vaginal dryness is a sign of estrogen deficiency. Period. End of story. Okay. Now, what you need is some bioidentical hormones. And let's say I've got breast cancer, my doctors won't prescribe it, I don't know what to do, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to do all the hormone replacement therapy for whatever combination of reasons. I disagree with you, but let's say that's the way you are. Then you get someone to prescribe some estriol for you. Okay, estriol is an anti-cancer estrogen. Anti-cancer. It's a natural, it's bioidentical. It is not quite 100-fold less potent than estradiol, but it's close to 100-fold. Okay, somewhere between 70 and 100-fold less potent. So it's the same thing in a sense as tamoxifen. It's the same thing in a sense as Evista, which is a SERM, selective estrogen receptor modulator. It's the same thing in a sense as flax seeds. All right, it's a very, very weak estrogen, but you made buckets of estriol when you were pregnant. That was the main estrogen that you made when you were pregnant. And so vaginas are exquisitely sensitive to estriol. It's a very, very safe estrogen for women to take who are being treated for breast cancer. Okay, I'm saying that's how safe it is. Now, most physicians don't know that, but vaginas are very, very sensitive to it, and it takes about 3 weeks of taking, a gram of it, about 1/5 of a teaspoon, up inside your vagina, and it will take care of vaginal dryness. It will toughen up your vagina so that you don't tear and you don't hurt when you have sex. And it's not going to help a lot with interest in sex. As your estrogen levels drop, most women's testosterone levels testosterone is the last hormone to drop. So progesterone drops off first, estrogen drops off next, and then testosterone drops off. So many women there are lots of women who are postmenopausal that all of a sudden, they will start a new business. You know, it's my time now. I have taken care of everybody else all of my life. I'm going to take care of me for a change. That comes from testosterone. All right? And what also comes from testosterone, as your estrogen levels continue to drop off, is more facial hair, loss of hair on the top of your head, and sometimes, and you also lose body hair, but you get more facial hair, and you can get some acne. It's terribly unfair. Now, I will give you a preview of my talk next month, which is you can use saw palmetto. Okay, saw palmetto is a supplement for hair, for loss of hair on the top of your head, or loss of or excessive hair where a man has a beard. Yeah. Okay, but let's say what happens if you take too much progesterone? Okay, the most common side effects of getting too much progesterone. Well, let me say a couple more things. What progesterone does in your body, another thing that progesterone does, is it is a diuretic. So that bloating, that swelling, that fluid retention, that 2 to 3 to 5 pound weight gain that you get right before your period and you feel like, that's blocked by progesterone. That doesn't happen with progesterone. So if you retain fluid before your periods, that says you've got too much estrogen, not quite enough progesterone. Now, if you get too much progesterone, what it does to your brain, and this is Dr. Who was the person who brought progesterone to this country? Dr. Lee. He was one who popularized it. Dr. Lee had just wonderful, wonderful tapes that you could get. And he would say, woman with too much progesterone, you tell her the IRS is coming, and she says, so? It's only money. Or your house just burned down. It's just a house. So it's kind of like having a frontal lobotomy. There's no passion. You're just flatline. Okay? It's just no engagement, just no progesterone. If you ignore that,
That's too much progesterone?
that's too much.
Too much, right.
It calms you down too much.
Too much, yeah.
And if you ignore that, then you can get depressed. Now, the nice thing about getting depressed with progesterone is you stop it for a couple of days and the depression lifts, just like that. Right? So that's the feedback that I'm looking for when I'm taking care of patients and adjusting their dose. I want them to have vitality and be engaged and enthusiastic with life and calm and have their feet grounded and feel like they can deal with whatever challenge life throws them. And if I don't see that, then I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's out of balance.
And you mentioned GABA. Where does that play into this?
Progesterone raises GABA. GABA is a neurotransmitter that's very, very common. And Valium and Xanax and all of those.
Benzodiazepines.
All benzodiazepines and alcohol mimic GABA. Now, what else can happen if you have too much progesterone? There's some women who take progesterone and they may not be overdosing on it. It may not be too much for them. But progesterone is an upstream hormone. And so progesterone, if your body is way out of balance, and especially your adrenal glands are way out of balance, then you can take that progesterone and instead of it being broken down the way it's normally broken down, it can get broken down into cortisol. So here I've told this woman that, you know, we're going to get rid of your fluid retention, you're going to feel better, you're going to feel calmer, et cetera, et cetera. And I say, watch for weight gain with it. Watch for putting on weight around your waist. If that happens, call me, okay, because you're making it into cortisol. And probably about, I don't know, 1 in 25, 1 in 30 women, I'll give them the progesterone, and they're calling back, you know, within a week. You said this was going to be a diuretic. I don't feel good. I'm upset about this. I'm gaining weight. I was supposed to lose weight. I feel awful. You know, this isn't working. Remember that I told you that it could be made into cortisol? And no, I don't remember that. Okay. They are always feisty. They are irritable because they've got too much cortisol on board. They don't feel good, and they're upset with me, and that's okay. So we have them stop the progesterone. And I will never take that again. And I say, you're right for right now. Okay. We've got to get your adrenal gland straightened out first. And many of those women end up having candida, and they don't know it. They've got an excess amount of yeast in their body. They have something else in their body that is really stressing out their adrenal glands that I didn't recognize the first time I talked with them, or the second time I talked with them, or whenever I talked to them. So that sends me in a different direction.
Does the high yeast cause people to kind of like retain fluids and gain weight and stuff too? Or is that?
Yeast makes mycoestrogens, so it can mimic a lot of the symptoms of having. That's another way that you can have high estrogens, or an estrogen effect. Let me see. I wanted to show you.
Body is so complex.
Women are so
Oh, it's
complex.
wonderful. It's wonderful. We are so cool. We are so much more adaptable than guys are. We have so much more flexibility.